She returned a wallet with just $5, unaware she had triggered a billionaire's life-changing test. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's video, I truly need your help. The channel has been losing traction lately, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It is quick, completely free, and it allows us to keep bringing you meaningful stories every single week. Your support honestly means everything to us. Let us keep this channel growing together. Where are you watching from right now? Tell us your city or your country in the comments below so we can see how far this little community reaches. Thank you very much for being here and for listening. Now, let us get back to our main character. That night, when she placed that worn-out wallet with only $5 back into a stranger's hands, Maya Flores thought she was just doing the decent thing. She did not know that the man in front of her was a billionaire in disguise, and that her choice would quietly rewrite the rest of her life. The rain has been falling over the city all afternoon. By the time Maya steps off the bus, the sidewalks of downtown are streaked with water and neon, every puddle a bright smear of red tail lights and green traffic signals. Her thin canvas sneakers are soaked through. Her fingers sting from the cold as she pulls the hood of her discount store jacket tighter around her face. It is almost 9 in the evening. The bakery where she works the early shift has closed hours ago. The diner where she cleans tables at night is still buzzing behind her, lights spilling out of the windows, the smell of grease and coffee following her to the curb. Her back aches, and her phone shows 3 missed calls from the hospital. "Mom, please be okay," she whispers, even though she knows her mother is already asleep in that fluorescent room on the 4th floor. The last bill had come in a bright white envelope with red letters across the top. Past due. Every time Maya closes her eyes, she sees it. She adjusts the strap of her beat-up backpack and starts toward the subway entrance. That is when she almost steps on it. A small, dark wallet lies in the middle of the wet sidewalk, half in a puddle, half on the concrete. People move around it without even looking down. A man laughs into his phone as he splashes past. A couple hurries under a single umbrella. No one seems to notice. Maya stops. For a second, she considers walking on. She is exhausted. Her own bank account is hanging on by a thread, but the thought passes as quickly as it arrives. She bends down and picks up the wallet, wiping away the drops of rain with the sleeve of her jacket. It feels strangely light. Under the street lamp, she flips it open. No credit cards. No folded stack of bills. Just a faded driver's license with an address in a rough part of town, a small photograph of an older woman with kind eyes, and one lonely $5 bill, soft and thin from too many hands. "That is it," she murmurs. A part of her chest tightens. Whoever lost this did not just lose a wallet. They lost the last $5 they had. Her stomach growls. She had planned to use her own last 5 for a cheap microwave dinner from the 24-hour store near her apartment. But when she slips her fingers into her pocket, she feels that single crumpled bill of her own and suddenly cannot bear the thought of going home and pretending she never saw this one. Maya looks down the block, then at the address on the license. It is far. At least 6 or 7 long city blocks, and definitely not on her way. The rain is getting heavier, and the wind cuts through her jacket. She could drop the wallet at the police station, she tells herself. She could leave it at the diner for lost and found. She could pretend she never saw the photo of the woman tucked behind the cloudy plastic. Instead, she exhales, long and shaky. "Okay," she says to no one. "Let us get this back to you." She tucks the $5 carefully back into the wallet, holding it like something fragile, and turns her back on the warm glow of the subway entrance. As she starts walking toward the dark part of town printed on that license, every step splashing through cold water, she has no idea that someone is already watching her from across the street, hood pulled low, hands in his pockets. And she definitely has no idea that the man who lost that wallet is not broke at all, but Lucas Vaughn, a billionaire who has been searching the city for one honest heart. Maya walks. The city changes as she moves farther from downtown. Storefronts turn into shuttered metal gates, neon into dim street lamps, buzzing with a tired yellow glow. The rain has eased into a mist, but her clothes are already wet, clinging to her skin. Her toes have gone numb inside her soaked sneakers. She follows the numbers painted crookedly above each doorway until she reaches the address from the license. A narrow brick building leans toward the street, its front steps cracked, its buzzer panel missing half the buttons. For a moment, Maya hesitates at the bottom step. She could still drop the wallet at a police station tomorrow. She could still pretend she never saw that photograph of the older woman. Then she pictures someone's son or daughter knocking on her mother's hospital door with a missing purse in their hands, and that is enough. She climbs the stairs and knocks. The door opens after a long pause. A man in a gray hoodie stands there, the hood shadowing most of his face. Stubble darkens his jaw. His jeans are worn, his sneakers muddy. Up close he does not look dangerous, just exhausted. His eyes flick to the wallet in her hand and widen in sharp relief. "Is this yours?" Maya asks. He exhales like he has been holding his breath for minutes. Yes, that is mine." She holds it out. "I found it near the subway. It looked like it mattered." He takes it carefully, as if it might disappear. He opens it right there in the doorway, checks the license, the photograph, the single $5 bill. Nothing is missing. His shoulders drop. "Thank you," he says, voice rough. "You walked all the way out here just for this." "It felt wrong to leave it," she answers. She nods toward the picture. "She looks important to you." He glances at the photograph of the older woman and swallows. "She is." Maya lifts one shoulder. Then it was worth the walk. He reaches into the pocket of his hoodie and pulls out a folded $10 bill, hesitating. "Please, let me at least give you something for your time. It is late. You should not have been out here for a stranger." The offer stings, not because it is offensive, but because part of her wants to take it so badly her hands almost move on their own. That $10 could pay for a week of bus rides. It could buy soup for her mother, or cover a co-pay on a prescription. Instead, Maya lets her arms fall to her sides. "You do not have to do that," she says quietly. "Just be more careful with it." He studies her face, trying to understand. Rain beads on her eyelashes, runs down the line of her jaw. Her jacket is cheap and much too thin for the night air. The temptation to insist is clear in his eyes. She reaches into her backpack and pulls out a small paper bag stamped with the fading logo of the bakery. Inside is a single cinnamon roll she had saved for breakfast, wrapped in wax paper. She presses it into his hand instead. "Here," she says. "I work at a bakery. They were going to throw this out anyway. Eat it while it is still good." He looks down at the bag, then back at her. Something unreadable moves across his expression. "You are giving me food on top of bringing my wallet back." Maya smiles, a little embarrassed. "You look like you have had a long day." There is a beat of silence between them, soft and strange. In it, the city sounds distant. For a second, he seems about to say something more, but the words never come. "Good night," she says, stepping back. "Take care of yourself." "Good night," he murmurs. "And thank you, truly." Maya turns and heads back down the stairs. She does not see him watching from the doorway as she disappears into the misty street, or the way his hand tightens around the paper bag as if it is something precious. By the time she reaches her neighborhood, the last subway has already come and gone. She walks the remaining blocks home, each step heavy. Her legs ache. The fluorescent hallway of her apartment building hums loudly when she finally pushes through the front door. Inside her tiny studio, the ceiling paint is peeling in the corners. A stack of hospital bills sits on the table beside a chipped mug. She drops her keys, peels off her wet jacket, and sinks onto the edge of the bed. Her phone buzzes. It is a message from the billing department reminding her of the balance due. Another from her landlord warning that rent is late again. Maya stares at the glowing screen until her vision blurs. She could have taken that $10. Instead, she walked home with empty pockets and sore feet. She lies back and stares at the ceiling. Despite everything, there is a quiet warmth in her chest when she remembers the way the man clutched the wallet and the photo of the woman inside. "At least someone sleeps easier tonight," she whispers. Across the city, high above streets that still glisten with rain, an elevator door opens into a penthouse lined with glass. The same man in the gray hoodie steps out, the hood now pushed back. Two security guards greet him with a respectful, "Good evening, Mr. Vaughn." Lucas Vaughn nods distractedly, still holding the worn wallet and the bakery bag that smells faintly of cinnamon and sugar. He walks to the massive window and looks out over the city lights. For months he has been slipping through these streets in borrowed clothes, searching for one person who would help without asking what they could get in return. Tonight, in the rain, a young woman with tired eyes and soaked sneakers walked 6 blocks out of her way to bring him back a wallet that was not worth $5 on paper. She refused his money and fed him instead. Lucas unwraps the pastry, takes a careful bite, and lets out a breath that sounds almost like a laugh. Finally, he murmurs to the empty room, "I think I have found her." The next morning, Maya wakes up to the sound of sirens somewhere far below her window. For a second, she does not remember where she is. Then the stiffness in her muscles and the cold patch of mattress beneath her cheek bring it all back. Her alarm did not go off. She must have fallen asleep on top of the covers with her clothes still on. Her phone shows 5:12 a.m. and 3 more notifications from the hospital. She swallows hard, taps the newest one, and reads the update. Her mother had a rough night, but the nurses have stabilized her. The words "payment arrangement required" appear again at the bottom of the message. Maya pulls herself upright, presses her palms over her face, and forces herself to move. She changes into a clean bakery t-shirt, ties her hair back, and slips her feet into shoes that are still slightly damp from the night before. After a quick splash of water on her face, she grabs her backpack and rushes out the door. The sky is still dark when she reaches Sunrise Bakery. The warm glow from the front windows is the only light on the block. Inside, ovens hum and the air is thick with the smell of yeast and sugar. Mrs. Kaplan, her boss, is already sliding trays of golden croissants onto the cooling racks. "You are late," the older woman says without looking up. "Again." "I am sorry," Maya answers, tying her apron. "The bus broke down last night. I did not get much sleep." Mrs. Kaplan sniffs, not unkindly. "Sleep when you are rich. For now, glaze those cinnamon rolls. And smile. Customers like smiles more than frosting." Maya forces a small laugh and moves to the prep table. Her hands move on instinct as she mixes sugar and cream cheese, but her mind drifts back to the man in the gray hoodie and the way he held his wallet like a lifeline. She wonders if he ate the pastry she gave him, or if it still sits on some counter in that crumbling building. At 7 on the dot, Mrs. Kaplan flips the sign on the door from closed to open. The first rush comes quickly. Office workers in suits, construction workers in heavy boots, a group of students in hoodies and backpacks. Maya greets each one with the same tired but genuine warmth, sliding coffee across the counter and offering samples of fresh bread. The bell above the door rings again. Maya glances up and freezes for half a beat. The man from last night stands just inside the doorway. The gray hoodie is gone. Instead, he wears a simple dark sweater and clean jeans, but his eyes are the same. In the bright bakery light, she can see that they are a deep hazel, sharp and strangely gentle at once. He looks different, more awake, but there is no doubt. It is him. For a moment, she wonders if he followed her. The thought flickers through her mind like a warning light. Then he notices her and his face breaks into a quiet, almost relieved smile. "Morning," he says as he steps up to the counter. "I was hoping this place was real and not just something I imagined when I was half asleep." Maya feels her cheeks warm. "You found it," she says. "How is your wallet?" "Safe," he answers, tapping his back pocket. And so is the $5 bill. He glances at the glass display case. "What was in that bag you gave me?" "A cinnamon roll," she says. "The last one from the batch." "Then I would like another one of those," he says. "And a coffee." "Black." She wraps the pastry, pours the coffee, and slides them toward him. He reaches for his wallet, pauses, and then looks up at her again. "I never asked your name last night," he says. "Maya," she replies. "Maya Flores." "Lucas," he says. He uses only his first name. "Thank you again for what you did." "It was nothing," she says automatically. "It did not feel like nothing," he replies. There is no dramatics in his tone, only a simple statement. When he opens his wallet this time, Maya notices something that makes her blink. The worn $5 bill sits right on top, separate from the others, folded neatly, as if he wants to protect it. He pays with a credit card, leaves the 5 in place, and adds a tip in cash that is more generous than the total of his order. "You do not have to do that," she protests. "I know," he says. "I want to." Before she can argue, the next customer steps up behind him. Lucas moves aside, but he does not leave. He takes a seat at a small table near the window, where he can see both the street and the counter. Over the next hour, Maya works nonstop. A little boy comes in clutching 3 coins in his fist, eyes wide as he looks over the rows of pastries. He is clearly short. When he counts the money, his face falls. Maya glances over at Mrs. Kaplan, then leans forward and whispers, "You are in luck. Your timing is perfect." Today we have a secret special. One chocolate donut for exactly the amount you have. The boy beams as she slides the donut into a bag and gives him an extra napkin. He runs out of the shop, crumbs already dusting his chin. When Maya looks up, she finds Lucas watching her, an unreadable expression on his face. It is not amusement and not pity. It is something closer to respect. He stays longer than an ordinary customer would. He finishes his coffee slowly, then another. He watches the way Maya handles a rude businessman who snaps his fingers when his order is delayed, the way she softens her voice for an elderly woman who walks with a cane and counts her coins with shaking hands. Finally, during a brief lull, Lucas stands and walks back to the counter. "Do you ever get a break?" he asks. "In about 10 minutes, she says, surprised. "Why?" "I was wondering," he says carefully, "if you would let me buy you a cup of coffee somewhere that is not this counter. There is something I would like to talk to you about. It is not weird, I promise." Maya studies him. Every instinct that has kept her safe in this city tells her to be careful. But there is a steadiness in his gaze that makes her pulse slow instead of race. "What kind of something?" she asks. "An opportunity," Lucas says. "And maybe a way to make sure you do not have to walk across town at night, just to do the right thing ever again." Maya has no idea that the man offering her coffee owns half the buildings on this block. She only knows that her rent is late, her mother is sick, and a stranger whose wallet she saved is now asking for 10 minutes of her time. She wipes her hands on her apron, glances at Mrs. Kaplan, and feels her life tilt on the edge of a decision. Maya wipes her hands on her apron and looks toward Mrs. Kaplan. "Go," the older woman says without glancing up from the register. 10 minutes. If he tries anything strange, throw a baguette at his head. That makes Maya smile in spite of herself. She unties her apron and steps out from behind the counter. Lucas is already by the door, holding it open for her. The air outside is crisp and bright, the earlier darkness burned away by a pale morning sun. There is a small coffee shop 2 doors down. They walk there in silence, the sound of traffic filling the spaces between them. Inside, the place smells of roasted beans and vanilla. Lucas chooses a table in the corner where they can speak without shouting over the grinder. He waits for her to sit before he does. "I meant it when I said this is not weird," he begins. "If at any point you want to leave, you just stand up and walk out. No hard feelings." "That is a very dramatic way to start a conversation," Maya says, wrapping her hands around the warm paper cup the barista has just set in front of her. "What exactly are you about to ask me?" He studies her for a moment, as if trying to decide how honest to be. Then he exhales slowly. "I run a few projects in the city," he says. "Community kitchens, training programs, shelters. I spend a lot of time in neighborhoods people with money usually avoid." Maya raises an eyebrow. "In a gray hoodie and mud on your shoes?" A small smile touches his mouth. "Sometimes that is the only way to really see what is happening. Last night, I was walking back from one of our centers. I took my wallet out to pay for a cab, and it slipped from my pocket. I did not realize it until I reached my building. And then I showed up," she says. "And then you showed up," he echoes. "In the rain. Late at night. You walked through a neighborhood most people cross the street to avoid. You did not know who I was. You did not know what was in the wallet. You could have left it, or taken the money and thrown the rest away. Instead you gave it back and handed me food." Maya shifts in her seat, uncomfortable under the attention. "Anyone decent would have done the same." "Decent people are rarer than you think," Lucas replies quietly. "I know because I have been looking for them." She frowns. "Looking for them? What?" "I am building a new program," he says. "A network of community kitchens that do more than hand out meals. Places that train people, give them skills, connect them with jobs. I can hire anyone with a polished resume. What I cannot buy is genuine compassion." He leans forward slightly. "When you helped that little boy this morning, when you changed the price so he could afford the donut, you did not." "No, I was watching. You did not know there was any test. That is the kind of person I need." Maya feels her throat tighten. Praise is not something she hears often. "So what are you asking me to do?" "I would like you to come see one of our centers," Lucas says. "Just for an afternoon. No commitment. You can help serve meals, see how everything works. If you hate it, you walk away and we pretend this was just a strange morning with free coffee. And if I do not hate it, then I will offer you a job," he says simply. "Paid training. A full-time position if you want it. Enough that you can stop working 2 shifts every day and maybe sleep more than 4 hours a night." The words hit her like a gust of wind. For a moment the noise of the coffee shop fades, and all she hears is her own heartbeat. A job that pays enough. A chance to do something that matters, not just keep people caffeinated and plates clean. It sounds too good to be real. What is the catch? Maya asks. There is always a catch. There is no catch, Lucas says. There will be hard days. You will see things that break your heart. You will work with people who are angry and scared. But there is no trap. Maya thinks of the hospital bills, the landlord's messages, the way her chest feels every time she counts the cash in her envelope and knows it will never be enough. You still have not told me who you really are, she says softly. What you do when you are not losing wallets in the rain. Lucas hesitates. For a second something like conflict passes through his eyes. My name is Lucas Vaughn, he says at last. I run the Vaughn Community Foundation. We partner with companies and donors to fund projects around the city. The name means nothing to her. She has no time to read business magazines or follow local philanthropy. To her, he is still the tired man in a hoodie whose wallet she carried through the dark. She takes a slow sip of coffee. You are serious about this, she says. I am, he answers. Come to the center tomorrow afternoon. If you do not like what you see, you never have to see me. Again, Maya looks down at her hands. They are dry and cracked from constant washing and hot water, lined with tiny cuts from careless slips of a bread knife. Tomorrow, she repeats. I have a shift at the diner. How much do you make in one night? Lucas asks. She tells him. His jaw tightens, almost imperceptibly. I will cover triple that amount as a stipend for your time, he says. You will not lose anything by coming. Maya searches his face for any sign of manipulation and finds only patience. Finally, she nods once. Fine, she says. I will come, but only to look. That is all I am asking, Lucas replies. He smiles, but Maya cannot shake the feeling that by agreeing to a single afternoon, she has just stepped across an invisible line into a life she does not yet understand. The next afternoon, the sky hangs low and gray over the city. Maya stands outside a brick building she has never noticed before, even though she has passed this block 100 times. A faded sign above the door reads, Harbor Street Community Center. In the window there is a poster with the Vaughn Foundation logo and a picture of steaming bowls of soup. Her stomach knots. Part of her still believes she should turn around, go to the diner, and beg her manager for extra hours. The other part remembers her mother's tired smile and the way Lucas said, You will not lose anything by coming. She takes a breath and pushes the door open. Inside, the air smells of onions, soap, and something warm and rich simmering in gigantic pots. The hum of voices fills the large hall. Volunteers in hairnets move between long tables, stacking bread, pouring water, wiping surfaces. On one side, a line of people waits patiently, each holding a plastic tray. A woman in her 50s with a bright scarf tied around her hair spots Maya and waves her over. You must be Maya, she says. I am Denise. Lucas told me to expect you. Come on, wash up. We will put you on soup duty. Her tone is brisk, but kind. Maya follows her to a sink, scrubs her hands, and ties on an apron that smells faintly of bleach. Denise shows her how to hold the ladle, how much to pour into each bowl so that the pot stretches to feed everyone. Some of them come in for seconds, Denise says quietly. When they do, pretend you do not notice if their hands shake. Maya nods. The line begins to move. A man with a wrinkled coat and tired eyes steps forward first. Afternoon, Maya says, forcing a shy smile. 1 or 2 scoops? Just 1, he answers. Save some for the others. She gives him 1.5 anyway, letting the bowl tilt just enough that it fills. He notices, but says nothing, only nods his thanks and moves on. Next is a teenage girl with a small backpack, then an elderly woman with a floral scarf tied under her chin. A mother with 2 children stands behind them. The youngest keeps glancing up at Maya with wide brown eyes. Are you a real cook? The child asks. Maya laughs softly. I am learning, she says. How is it? The girl takes a careful sip and her face lights up. It tastes like my grandma's, she says. The compliment hits Maya in a place she did not know was empty. She ladles soup for the rest of the family and watches them find a seat at the end of a long table. Time blurs. The pot in front of her empties, is replaced, empties again. Sweat gathers at the back of her neck, and her feet begin to protest, but she barely notices. There is a rhythm to the work. Scoop, smile, serve, repeat. For a few hours, she is not thinking about overdue rent or hospital bills. She is simply part of a moving, living effort to keep people warm. During a lull, Denise pats her arm. You are a natural, the older woman says. Most people take a while to understand this is not charity. This is just neighbors feeding neighbors. You get it. Maya looks around. The tables are full of people eating, talking, laughing in that low, tired way that comes after a hard day. On the far wall, a bulletin board lists job openings, literacy classes, and addiction support groups. She feels something loosen in her chest. I did not know places like this existed, she admits. That is the point, Denise says. We are here for the ones who think they have been forgotten. A voice behind them answers. And for the ones who forget they are needed. Maya turns. Lucas stands a few feet away, sleeves rolled up, a smear of something that might be tomato sauce on his wrist. He has clearly been working in the kitchen, not just walking through for show. He nods to Denise, who heads off to check the bread station. How are you holding up? He asks Maya. Tired, she says honestly. But in a good way. He smiles. That is how you know you did something that mattered. They walk along the edge of the room together. Lucas points out different corners as they pass. There is a small reading area with donated books. A computer station where volunteers help people build resumes. A bulletin board filled with thank you notes written in shaky handwriting or careful block letters. This is only one center, he says. We want to open 10 more over the next 2 years. Each one needs people who understand that kindness is not a performance. It is a habit. Maya stops in front of the bulletin board. One card catches her eye. In blue marker, a child has written, "Thank you for making my mom smile again." She swallows. So this is what you wanted to show me, she says. Lucas nods. You walked across town in the rain to help one stranger. Imagine what you could do if this was your job. The word job hangs between them, heavy with possibility and fear. I do not have a degree, Maya says softly. I have no training in social work. I am just a girl who bakes bread. Lucas shakes his head. You are not just anything, he says. You understand how it feels to be on the edge. That is something a classroom cannot teach. We will provide training for the rest. She looks back at the tables, at the man from the beginning of the line, now laughing with someone over a cracked plastic cup of water, at the little girl licking the last trace of soup from her spoon. For the first time in a long time, Maya lets herself imagine a future that is not a narrow hallway between jobs and bills. A future where her effort does not disappear the moment a customer walks out the door. She does not say yes yet. But when Lucas asks, "Can you come back next week?" she hears herself answer before her fear can catch up. Yes, Maya says. I can come back. 1 week later, Maya is back at Harbor Street Community Center. This time she does not feel like a visitor. She knows where the aprons hang, where the extra ladles are kept, which cabinet sticks when you try to close it too hard. She still works mornings at the bakery, but she has dropped her late-night shifts at the diner. The small stipend from the foundation covers the difference for now. It is a risk, but her body could not keep living on 3 hours of sleep and cold coffee. After the lunch rush, Lucas finds her in the back kitchen rinsing trays. You survived another day, he says. Barely, she answers, but she is smiling. I did not realize soup could end up in so many places at once. He laughs. You handled it well. I have something I would like you to see, if you have a few minutes. Maya dries her hands and follows him down a narrow hallway she has not explored before. They pass a door labeled storage and another marked staff only. At the end of the hall, Lucas unlocks a small office. Inside, the room is surprisingly plain. A metal desk, 2 chairs, a filing cabinet that has seen better days. On the far wall, however, there is a large corkboard covered in maps and pinned notes. Colored strings connect different neighborhoods across the city. Small photographs are tacked in clusters. Some show volunteers serving food. Others show people sitting in classrooms, holding certificates, or smiling outside buildings that look newly painted. This is the network, Lucas says. Every place the foundation has helped start a program. Some are small, some are not. I wanted you to see the bigger picture. Maya steps closer. There are red circles around areas she recognizes as rough parts of town, places she used to avoid when she walked home at night. All of this, she says slowly, you helped create? Not alone, he replies. A lot of people build this. Donors, staff, volunteers. But yes, I had a hand in it. She scans the board until her eyes catch on an empty spot. It is the neighborhood where her mother's hospital is located. No pins. No strings. There is nothing there, she says quietly. Lucas follows her gaze. Not yet, he answers. We have a proposal for a center near the hospital. A place for families who are juggling treatment and work and everything else. I have not found the right person to lead it. Maya feels her heart thump once hard. You are looking at me right now, she says. Is that on purpose? He does not look away. Yes, he says. It is. Her first impulse is to laugh it off. I am not qualified to run anything, she says. I am barely keeping my own life together. He shakes his head. You are exactly the kind of person I want making decisions there, he says. You know what it is to sit in those waiting rooms and stare at a bill you do not know how to pay. You know what it feels like to choose between rent and medicine. That experience is worth more than any degree. His words land somewhere deep and tender inside her. She thinks of her mother's tired face, the vending machine snacks she has eaten for dinner in the hospital cafeteria, the family she has seen sleeping in chairs because they cannot afford a hotel near the city. Even if I wanted to try, she says, I would not know where to start. That is what training is for, Lucas says. We have staff who can teach you budgeting, program design, all of that. You would not be alone. Maya stares at the empty space on the wall and sees not just a pin and a piece of string, but the outline of a future she has never allowed herself to imagine. What if I fail? She whispers. Lucas's voice softens. Then we learn and adjust, he says. Failure is not the end. Indifference is. The room is quiet for a long moment. Finally, Maya turns away from the board and looks at him. I will think about it, she says. I cannot promise anything yet. That is all I am asking, he replies. On the bus ride home that night, the city outside the windows blurs into streaks of light. Maya holds her phone in both hands, scrolling through photos she took at the center. Denise laughing with a group of volunteers. The little girl with the backpack from earlier, concentrating on her soup. A whiteboard covered in notes about next week's menu. She pauses, then opens a new message to her mother. She types, I might have found a way to be at the hospital more, and maybe help other families too. Then she stops, backspaces half of it, and instead writes, work was busy today. I made soup that a little girl said tasted like her grandma's. Her mother replies with 3 heart emojis and a shaky picture of her own lunch tray. Maya smiles, but her mind is already returning to that empty space on the map. Somewhere inside her, the idea has taken root. She does not know that on the top floor of the Vaughn Foundation headquarters, in an office of glass and steel, board members are asking Lucas pointed questions about his latest project. They want numbers, guarantees, safe investments. When they leave, Lucas stands alone before his own version of the map, this one digital, glowing across a wall of screens. He zooms in on the neighborhood by the hospital and places a marker labeled Harbor Family Hub, Candidate Director, MF. He thinks about a young woman walking through the rain with someone else's wallet in her hands and knows he is making the right bet. Doubts come slowly at first. For a few weeks, Maya splits her time between Sunrise Bakery and Harbor Street. She learns how to fill out intake forms, how to calm someone who is angry because they are hungry and ashamed, how to read between the lines when a parent says, we are fine, but their child flinches at every loud sound. Lucas keeps his distance just enough to let her breathe. Some days he is at the center, stacking boxes or sitting quietly with a man who sleeps in the park. Other days he disappears into meetings in parts of the city she has never seen, sending only a quick text. How is the soup today? But good things have a way of stirring up fear. One evening Maya returns home to find an envelope taped to her apartment door. It is thin, official, and unforgiving. A notice to vacate. Her rent is 2 months behind. Her landlord has run out of patience. She sits on the edge of her bed, the paper shaking in her hand. The stipend from the foundation helps, but hospital bills devour everything. She feels like she is trying to hold back a tide with her bare hands. Maybe I should take extra shifts at the diner again, she murmurs. The next day at the center, she overhears 2 volunteers whispering near the storage room. That new girl, one says. The one with the big brown eyes. Maya, yes. I heard Lucas brought her in personally. Found her at some bakery. No degree, no experience. Must be nice to be the boss's favorite. The words hit harder than they intend. Maya steps back before they see her, face hot. Favorite. Pity hire. She had never wanted to be anyone's special case. All afternoon, Her movements feel heavier. When Lucas appears by the sink with a stack of dishes, she avoids his eyes. "You seem quiet today," he says. "Just tired," she answers. He studies her for a long moment, but she keeps her gaze on the water swirling down the drain. He finally nods and lets it go. 2 days later, Denise finds her staring at the eviction notice in the tiny staff room. "Is that what I think it is?" Denise asks gently. Maya folds the paper quickly. "It is fine. I will figure it out." Denise's eyes soften. "You do not have to carry everything alone, you know." "I do not want special treatment," Maya says, sharper than she means to. "I am already here because Lucas decided I was some project." Denise raises her eyebrows. "Is that what you think this is? A project? What else could it be?" Maya's voice cracks. "He hardly knows me. He shows me maps and offers jobs I do not deserve. People are already talking." "Maya." Denise's tone is firm now. "Lucas does not hand out positions like prizes. Trust me, I have seen him turn away people with perfect resumes because their hearts were not in the right place. He saw something real in you. Or he feels guilty because I walked through the rain for his wallet," Maya mutters. Before Denise can answer, Lucas appears in the doorway. His expression tightens when he sees the paper in Maya's hand and the look on her face. "What is going on?" he asks. Maya shoves the notice into her bag. "Nothing. I was just leaving." He steps aside, but his eyes follow her as she brushes past. For the first time since the night of the wallet, Maya feels a wall rising between them, made of fear and pride and the old belief that good things are never really meant. For someone like her, the first place Maya goes after leaving the center is the hospital. The fluorescent lights in the hallway feel harsher than usual. Her mother is propped up in bed, a blanket tucked around her thin shoulders, the television murmuring with the sound turned almost all the way down. "You look tired," her mother says as soon as Maya steps in. "More tired than last week." "I am fine," Maya answers, dropping into the chair by the bed. "Work is just a lot." "The bakery?" "And the center," Maya adds, then sighs. "Maybe I made a mistake with that." Her mother studies her face. "Tell me." Maya hesitates, then pulls the crumpled eviction notice from her bag and smooths it over her knee. She explains about the stipend, the rent, the whispers, the feeling that she is some experiment Lucas is running. When she finishes, her mother is quiet for a long moment. "Do you remember when you were little and that church group brought groceries to our door after your father left?" her mother asks. Maya nods. "You cried in the kitchen." "I cried because I was proud," her mother says. "I had worked my whole life, and suddenly I was the one being helped. But then you opened the boxes and saw the cereal you loved, and you smiled like the sun came back. In that moment I understood something. There is shame in taking without giving. But there is no shame in accepting a hand so that you can stand up and help others later." She reaches for Maya's hand. "If this man is using you, walk away," she says. "But if he is giving you a chance to do the work your heart was made for, do not let pride make that decision." The words follow Maya all the way home. The next day, she returns to Harbor Street with her resignation rehearsed in her head. She will finish the week, say thank you, and disappear before anyone can accuse her of chasing a free ride. Before she can find Denise, Lucas appears at the entrance of the hall. "Can we talk?" he asks. He leads her back to the small office with the map wall. On the desk is a thin folder with her name written across the front in careful ink. "I heard there was an issue with your landlord," Lucas says. Denise mentioned the notice. Maya stiffens. "I told her I would handle it. I do not want charity." "That is not what this is," he says. "Sit, please." Reluctantly, she does. He opens the folder. Inside are printed schedules, a training outline, and a simple contract. "This is an offer for a full-time position," Lucas says. "Program coordinator for the Harbor Family Hub. Salary, health benefits, and a housing allowance large enough that you do not have to choose between a bed and a hospital bill again." Maya stares at the pages. "Why would you do this for me? You barely know me." He meets her eyes. "I know that you walked 6 blocks in the rain for a wallet with almost nothing in it," he says. "I know that you treat every person who walks through those doors like a neighbor, not a burden. The board wanted someone with a degree and a polished background. I told them I wanted someone who understands what it means to be one bill away from disaster." He reaches into his own wallet and pulls out the same worn $5 bill, edges soft with age. "This is the night I decided to trust you," he says. "This job is not a favor. It is a partnership. If you accept, I will expect you to work harder than you have ever worked in your life. If you say no, I will respect that. But I will not pretend you did not earn this. Maya looks from the bill to the contract, her heartbeat loud in her ears. For the first time, the opportunity in front of her feels less like a test and more like a door that she has the power to open or walk away from. Maya takes a long breath. If I accept, she says slowly, I want conditions. Lucas looks almost relieved. Name them. No secrets, she says. No tests. No undercover anything. If we work together, it has to be honest. I will not find out 6 months from now that this was another experiment you were running for some board meeting. He nods. Agreed. No more tests. Only work and truth. She hesitates for one more heartbeat, then picks up the pen. Her signature looks small under the printed letters of her name, but when the ink dries, something inside her shifts. For the first time, since her father left, her life is not just reacting to disaster. She is choosing a direction. Time moves. The Harbor Family Hub opens in a renovated building 3 blocks from the hospital. There is a playroom for children, a quiet room with soft chairs for families who receive hard news, a kitchen that smells of spices and bread. On one wall, a community fridge hums gently, stocked with fresh produce and cartons of milk. Maya walks the halls every day, learning names, listening to stories. She builds a small team of staff and volunteers who care as fiercely as she does. Denise comes on as assistant director. The 2 volunteers who once whispered about her now stand beside her at staff meetings, taking notes as she outlines new programs. Her mother moves into subsidized housing nearby and becomes a regular at the hub, knitting tiny hats for babies whose parents can afford nothing but hospital blankets. Sometimes Maya catches her mother watching her lead a meeting or comfort a crying teenager, eyes shining with quiet pride. The Vaughn board, once skeptical, cannot argue with results. Hospital social workers report fewer families slipping through the cracks. Job placements rise. Nights on the street decrease around the neighborhood. Maya's spreadsheets are rough around the edges, but the numbers speak clearly. 1 year after Maya signs the contract, the foundation hosts an anniversary gala in the very building where she first saw Lucas under chandeliers and linen tablecloths. Tonight, however, the spotlight is not on donors. It is on the families whose lives have changed. Maya stands at the edge of the ballroom in a simple dark blue dress a coworker helped her choose. She feels out of place for a moment, until she spots familiar faces from the hub scattered through the crowd. A former patient now in remission. A father who found steady work through the job board. The little girl from the first days at Harbor Street, twirling in a second-hand dress, cheeks round with health. The host steps up to the microphone. Please welcome, he announces, the director of the Harbor Family Hub, and the reason this entire project exists, Maya Flores. Applause rises like a wave. For a moment, Maya cannot move. Then she remembers the woman in the hospital bed who told her there is no shame in accepting a hand if you use it to lift others too. She walks to the stage. She does not give a polished speech. She talks about the first bowl of soup she ever served, about a child who said the taste reminded her of home. She talks about fear and bills, and the night she carried a stranger's wallet through the rain. She finishes with a simple line. Kindness is never wasted, she says. Sometimes it takes time, but it always finds its way back. The crowd stands. When she leaves the stage, Lucas is waiting at the bottom of the steps. Cameras flash around them, catching the way he looks at her. In the quieter hall outside the ballroom, far from the microphones, he gestures toward a small framed case on the wall. Inside, pinned to black velvet, is a familiar worn bill. She steps closer. That is, her voice trails off. The same $5 you returned to me, Lucas says. I kept it as a reminder. We used a copy in the exhibit downstairs and locked the original here, where only we know it exists. Beneath the glass, a brass plate carries an inscription, one small act of honesty, the beginning of everything. When she turns back to him, he is already sinking to one knee. There is a ring in his hand, simple and bright, but his voice is steady. Maya Flores, he says, you walked into my life with an empty wallet and a bag of day-old pastry, and somehow managed to fill both our worlds with more than I knew was missing. I tested the world because I did not trust it. You taught me that real trust is something you live, not something you measure. Will you marry me, and keep building this with me, as my partner in every sense? Tears blur her vision. She thinks of the map on the wall, of the families at the hub, of the girl who once stood shivering in the rain with nothing but a stranger's wallet in her hands. Yes, Maya says, but only if you promise never to lose your wallet on purpose again. He laughs, relief and joy mixing in his eyes. Deal, he answers. He slips the ring onto her finger. In the reflection of the glass, for a split second, she sees them the way the city will remember them, not just as a billionaire and the girl who passed his test, but as two people who decided that one small kindness could be the start of a revolution. Thank you for joining us for this cinematic adventure. If you want more untold or real stories of billionaire love and redemption, please subscribe and choose your next true heart journey on your screen now.